I was just in the women's room at a cheesecake factory. And when I walked in, there was this little girl, like 3 years old, tops. She was standing there alone, I assumed waiting for her parent who was in the stall. And all the stalls were full. So, like, I couldn't go in, I just had to wait. And it was me and this little girl and no one else. And she kind of looked at me like, and, I just like nodded my head and didn't look at her. I was like, it's kind of awkward. And it occurred to me that when the parent, who I don't know, uh, leaves the stall, exits their stall, and sees me, a trans person, and their little 3-year-old daughter, uh, that they might make an assumption based on untrue things that they've heard, an assumption that could be very dangerous for me, unsafe for me.
Well, isn't it you who are making an assumption about a woman's reaction to your presence? Who says that the woman will have a problem with you being in the women's restroom? She could be woke and support your transness. But if she cared and if she had a problem with you being in the women's restroom, it's not because she's seeing a trans woman, it's because she's seeing a man. We all register sex whenever we're out in public and look at people. We know their sex within seconds. Trans isn't a third sex. It's an identity label, and no person, not even yourself, has an X-ray vision, can see what people identify as.
Instead of waiting for that to potentially happen, I left the bathroom and decided I didn't need to pee that bad. Trans people go through this thought process any time they're in a bathroom. And it's not okay. And it's important to talk about because it happens all the time.
No, it doesn't. What are you talking about? Actual trans women know how to behave in public. They know which restroom to use, and they know it's determined by how much they pass as women. Real trans women know that if they look like men too much, they will use the men's restroom. If they pass as women, if they have, reached their goal of passing, they sometimes can use the women's restroom. It's mostly because they don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, especially women, but it's also for their own benefit. Because as someone with gender dysphoria, the mental disorder that transsexuals have, drawing too much attention to yourself, like in a bad way, will trigger the gender dysphoria. Trans people do not want people to look at them like, you do not belong there because we know what your biology is. Again, that will trigger the gender dysphoria. So the main difference between a trans activist and a transsexual is how much attention do they want to draw to themselves as trans people. Trans activists want to be seen all the time. They always want to create a scene everywhere they go. They want to be rude to others, make women especially uncomfortable in their spaces, and they love to call other people transphobic for no reason. A transsexual wants the complete opposite. They don't want to draw any attention to themselves. The more they blend in, the better. They want to follow the rules, not trying to change them, and they want to be a part of society and not change it. Actual transsexuals have been using public restrooms for years now. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't even a debate until a couple of years ago. Why are we suddenly talking about it? Well, it's because fake trans people, aka trans activists, have hijacked the trans community. They're wrongfully representing what it means to be trans, and they're making so much trouble out there in society. They're forcing themselves to be in spaces they know they don't belong in. Grown men are calling themselves trans women, even though they know they're not, just so they can get easier access to women, just so they can be in women's sports and win. Causing women to feel so unsafe. Of course it makes women unsafe, but here we have a trans activist who's turning everything upside down, saying he's the one feeling unsafe being in women's restrooms. The man wanting to look like a girl, a little girl, standing next to an actual little girl, is the one feeling unsafe. The little girl, the 3-year-old girl, should be the only one feeling unsafe in that situation. You are the man, Lily, forcing yourself to be in a space you don't belong in. That little girl couldn't do anything about that. And the worst part of all of this is how you left just because you were thinking about yourself and your own safety, your own, I don't know, reputation or something. It's disgusting. You didn't leave because you didn't want to make a little girl uncomfortable. She apparently made you uncomfortable. You made yourself into the victim here. I mean, I gotta say, it's impressive how you can make yourself into a victim in a situation where you're obviously not the victim, where it's obvious to us all who the real victim is. 99% of videos of Lily Tino out there is about him making other people uncomfortable. That is his goal, and he loves it. He also talked about getting his testicles removed in Disneyland, in public, where kids walk around. He loves to make servers uncomfortable by confronting them for no reason, and somehow he's convincing his audience that he is the victim in all of these situations. Moving on, Lily got facial feminization surgery. Let's take a look at how it went.
I just talked to the surgeon. You can see they marked on my Adam's apple where they're gonna, super exciting. Apparently they're gonna braid my hair in the operating room. Surgeon said it will look like I got beat up for 7 to 10 days. I have to change a lot of dressings on my face for a while. But, I'm gonna have a whole new face. It's really exciting. I'm really excited. I'm very nervous. It has been 20 days since my FFS. About 70% of the swelling is gone, but it'll take another year or two for the rest of it to go down. First up is the hairline. You can see that it has been moved forward. The line is pretty pronounced right now, but it will fade over time. You might also be wondering about this little dent right here. That is internal stitching, and it will go away in a few weeks. Now, my nose is quite swollen, and that will go down over time, but take a look. You can see it's way more of a ski slope now. Also, my brow bone is way less pronounced. My surgeon said that the brow would probably be the thing that made the most difference in the beginning to feminize my face, and I tend to agree with them. Now, my lips haven't changed, but they went through my lower mouth to get to my jaw. It's hard to see the result here right now because there is a lot of swelling, but over time you'll see that it is much softer. And last but not least, the Adam's apple is gone.
Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this result.
I recently bought a plane ticket to visit my family in a few weeks, and lo and behold, my account got disabled. So I called up and I said, hey, my account got disabled. And they said, are you calling for yourself or on behalf of someone? I said, nope, I'm Lily. I said, Lily, right? Yeah, Lily. Okay. And then they throw every security question at the book. They're asking mom's maiden name, like everything. And then they put me on hold, and a hold for a minute or two is fine, but it's like 10, 15 minutes. And it's like, they're not looking at these purchases. They must be like talking to someone. They have to be suspicious. I'm almost certain they're suspicious because of my voice. They come back and of course they call me sir. Immediately I say, nope, I'm not a sir. I'm a transgender woman. And they say, oh, okay, I'm so sorry, sir. And it's like, okay, now I'm getting really upset because it's obvious what's happening. And then they say, oh, by the way, we're going to be placing a 3 business day hold on your account, which basically means I have no money. Rent is due in a few days, so don't know what I'm going to do about that. And just because of my voice, I didn't realize that in order to be a customer at this bank as a transgender person, I had to voice train. They should probably put that on their marketing materials so other trans people know not to give that bank their business.
Lily, I have a strong feeling that you're not telling the truth about the conversation. But let's just go with what we've got. You knew immediately, if not before calling them, that due to your deep, manly voice, the bank would question if you're actually Lily. But you didn't clarify or explain your situation to them until it got really complicated. Honey, you did that on purpose? This is what I was talking about before. Trans activists love to create a scene, love to complain, love to make other people uncomfortable, and call them transphobic, or like bigots. Where real transsexuals will do whatever it takes to not draw any unnecessary attention to themselves, to not make situations like these unnecessarily complicated. We do not have any reason to make other people uncomfortable. The point or the goal of our transition was to alleviate our mental disorder, gender dysphoria. We just wanted to live better lives, feeling better about ourselves. That alone has nothing to do with other people. I lived my life as Marcus a couple of years before starting my medical transition, so for a couple of years, I obviously sounded like a girl. So I had to explain my situation basically all the time to strangers, and maybe, yeah, to my bank. I can't remember, but it wouldn't surprise me if I did. I remember it did suck, and it triggered sometimes my gender dysphoria. But the thing about experiencing symptoms of gender dysphoria is that you become quiet, you feel anxious, powerless, exposed, and it makes you want to be even more invisible. You do not have the capacity. If you're actually dealing with the disorder, you do not have the capacity to create a scene like this for no reason. You don't want to or have the capacity to be mad at others, to call them out, to debate your gender identity with others. That's how I know trans activists like Lily do not deal with gender dysphoria. They want everyone in society to obey them, where real transsexuals want to obey the rules of society. That sounded weird, but it's true. Lily, I think you should go ahead and expose this bank. I think you will help them. They sound based and also responsible. Obviously, they care about security. That's all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, remember to hit subscribe and the notification bell. As always, let me know what you think, and I cannot wait to read your comments down below. Peace out.